week. Who else? I told you Rich McKay, who was on my radio show in Tampa this morning, but he'll be here next week as well, the chairman of the competition committee. I believe we're going to get Howard Eskin on again, and we're probably going to get, coming around, we're going to get Angelo on again. Angelo Cataldi was awesome. All right. So this next guy, I've never spoken to him. And I want to tell you guys, there's a bunch of us out there. Now, Mike is one of the guys. He is and I'm not saying he's got any style like Howard or Angelo, but what he is he's one of the guys that I kind of stand on the shoulders of. Okay, I'm like the second generation guy compared to these dudes. Okay, so anytime I get one of these guys involved, Francesa, like he's the Francesa of Chicago. Just so you know, okay? Now wait a minute here. I'm going to say this to you. I don't know if that's a compliment. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, all right? But I got to tell him before I started, I saw my very first Major League Baseball game outside of Yankee Stadium at the old Comiskey Park. It was Red Sox and White Sox. I think Zisk hit one over the top of the left field stadium, over the top, out of the stadium. He's one of the only guys ever to do it. I think Rice hit one that night. Seriously, if you went to the old Comiskey Park, you thought you were going to a train station. It was just this old, beat-up place, but it was historic. I love Chicago. I just loved it. I loved going to the Museum of Science and History. I lived in Illinois for a while, and I just loved that city. I played against the Bears. I played in Soldier Field, and this guy's been covering football and sports in that city for a long time. It's my first time, and it's my pleasure, believe me, to be talking to one of the legendary guys. It's Mike North, as he joins us right now here. Mike, how you doing, brother? I hope I gave you a good enough introduction, dude.
I was blushing, you son of a gun. How the hell are you, man? Richie Zisk hit one over the roof in right field.
He did, yeah. I went to the game that night, and, right. Dick Allen was one of my favorite players when I was living in Illinois. I love Dick Allen. I mean, He was so great. But, yeah, I was there the night that Richie Zisk hit one over the roof. And that ballpark, man, I mean, I'll tell you what, it was beat up, but it was truly one of the greatest old school ballparks, what old school baseball was when you guys had that old place. I love that place. It was a great area.
Well, they wanted to, demolish it because they had let it run down. But there are a lot of people like yourself, like myself, that say, if you were to renovated that park, it would be somewhat like Fenway Park, like Wrigley Field. The unfortunate part about it is the South Side is not as industrious as the North Side is. The North Side and the South Side are two entirely different cities now. Still very, very great areas out there. But you know what? It takes, like, if you live in the northern suburbs of Chicago and you want to go to 35th Street, Dan, that's a 2-hour trip on the Kennedy Expressway. And, their games are at 7 o'clock. So you're running into rush hour and everything else. It's just not a good place to be anymore. That's why Jerry Reinsdorf, back in the day when he first bought the club, wanted to move it to Addison, Illinois. And the people of Addison voted it down. And Jerry Reinsdorf decided, well, we'll still build here. Now, it's been there with the new park since 1993, but, people don't want to take the L for an hour and a half anymore. Yeah. If you live on Howard Street or near Evanston and go all the way to 3500 South. So it's got to be more centrally located. We're going to see what happens. And but really, I mean, Wrigleyville and if you ever want the baseball experience, go to Wrigleyville if you've never been there, because I mean, you could have bought the buildings around that park with the change in your pocket back 45 years ago. And now it's just a completely, you think you're in Disneyland. So it's just an unbelievable experience compared to what the White Sox offer you on the South Side.
Absolutely, man. I just love that city. And unfortunately, though, Mike, you haven't really had a lot to root for when it comes to the Bears. And Chicago, again, playing against those 80s teams. I played against that 85 and 87 Chicago Bears teams, which were just fabulous, 12-plus win teams and all. I mean, the McCaffreys really haven't done a great job at running that franchise at all. No. They haven't found a quarterback. I mean, what are your expectations for the team this year? I mean, do you have any high? They've made a lot of moves. and they've done a lot of things that, I mean, you tell me, what are you making this year?
Well, I mean, I kept hearing about this kid, Caleb Williams, and, so I decided to watch him a couple times his senior year, and he crapped the bed both times. Then he went and cried in his mother's arms, left his ball club on the sidelines. It was all about me, I. He basically, I don't care if he paints his nails. I don't care if he wears gowns, as long as he wins. Dennis Rodman was one of my good friends when he was in Chicago. I met him at Gibson Steakhouse the first night he came, and we hung out together numerous times. He showed up on a motorcycle in a wedding dress, but they won, and he performed. So, Chicago people will overlook a lot of the bizarre type of behavior by certain athletes. But it just seems to me, you look at a guy named Jalen Hurts, who everybody criticizes, for God's sake. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. He spends his time in the gym, looks positive, looks forward. He doesn't fill the stat book. All he does is win, and I got to hear people down him. So I don't know what's become of winning in football, but the Bears are nothing but false hope. I mean, I've been a fan since 1961. I was at the 1963 championship game with my two uncles. I was 9 years old, and I'll never forget my uncle saying, "There's more where this came from." Well, not till 1985, and I brought up Jamal Hurts. I brought up Hurts because he stays healthy. He played 15 games last year. If Jim McMahon would have stayed healthy for the Chicago Bears, we would have won 3 Super Bowls. It's that simple. So I don't care how you fill a stat book. I don't care if you're a regular season hero. It's what you do in the playoffs and the Super Bowl that counts. And for people to besmirch a Jalen Hurts, for instance, and some people not calling him a top 10 quarterback because he has, 9, 10 Pro Bowlers on his team. Well, Cam Newton, who criticizes him, had 10 Pro Bowlers on his team when he won the MVP. So they're all jealous. They're all envious. And, winning becomes secondary with some organizations. It's all about hype. And that's where the Chicago Bears are right now, because they are picked for last place. And Caleb Williams, who I heard many people claim was a generational quarterback when I've only seen 3 or 4 in my life, like Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, people like that. He's not generational. He played in the lousiest defensive league in college football history, the Pac-10 at the time. The defensive sack of SC that he practiced against was ranked 105th. He doesn't have 5 seconds to pass anymore. He doesn't have time to roll out, and he tries to run instead of setting up in the pocket. So I am going to probably take the under 8.5. He was ranked 29th by Pro Football Focus. That wasn't the plan. That was not the plan.
You bring up Jalen Hurts, and you tell me this because you're right. The big criticism is he went for 2,900 yards, Mike. Okay, but at the end of the day, the guy gets into the Super Bowl. He wins the Super Bowl. He's been there 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the criticism that you see with him? And you're laughing because, again, I like it because you think that. I mean, the criticism. What happened to winning is what you're saying here.
Bingo.
A little bit. Is that right?
Bingo, Dan. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody, Aaron Rodgers been to 1 Super Bowl and won 4 MVPs. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. I mean, he was a stat stuffer. He's a what I call a regular season hero. Him and Favre won 2 Super Bowls in 30-some years. You know what I'm saying? McMahon won 2, one with Green Bay and one with the Bears. So he had as many as they did. To me, winning has become secondary. It's all about, the big quarterbacks now. It's a quarterback-driven league, no doubt about it. The MVP is going to probably be a quarterback for the most part. But to me, winning is secondary with a lot of franchises now. It's all about making money. I mean, the Bears have the worst stadium in football. Their matriarch, Virginia McCaskey, owned the team for 43 years. And I never hesitated because of whatever gender she was or whatever. They treated her majestically in Chicago. She was a horrible owner. She was a terrible owner. She got that ownership because of circumstances that were her brother dying, Muggs Hallis. And then she was gifted it, and she ran the franchise into the ground. They fired Ditka. They fired Jerry Vanisi. I'm going to give you. They fired Jerry Vanisi, Dan. Listen to this.
Spectacular football, man.
30 games over 500, and they fired him. 30 games over 500 with the Bears. They just gave Ryan Poles at 15 and 36 a 4-year extension. That's all you need to know about this organization. All you need to know.
Do you believe they'll ever sell the team?
I don't think so. But I'll tell you what, you want them to, because they should have started digging for a new stadium 2 years ago. As you know, if you ever went to Arlington Racecourse.
Oh, yes.
The Chicago Bears bought the property 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're sitting on it like they're going to build a Portillo's. I mean, you gotta put in you gotta get the ball rolling. I mean, Arlington Heights, taxes. They brought in Kevin Warren, who's an outsider, who doesn't know anything about Illinois politics, who just last year selected a COO for the stadium after they had the site for a year. So they're still talking about refurbishing Soldier Field, the worst stadium to go to in the NFL, the smallest stadium in the NFL, the worst deal in the NFL. So they're just a ma and pa operation right now. I know the hiring of Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen is exciting everybody, but he's a first-time coach. I've seen Super Bowl coaches like John Fox come in and get ruined by being associated with this franchise.
You know what, Mike? That's a great point you bring up. John Fox is the only guy that they ever brought in with any kind of success that they ever had in that franchise. And now they're doing it again here. How do you think that relationship with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson is going to go? I mean, how do you think that pans out here? And is this going to tell us a lot about both guys? Is he going to be a good coach or not, right? Or is this guy quarterback going to be a good quarterback?
I'm going to tell you something right now. They're both a mystery now. You know, the genuflecting to Ben Johnson is nothing new in Chicago. Some of the softest media people in the land. Ben Johnson never made the big decisions in Detroit. Ben Johnson did not change the culture of Detroit. Ben Johnson did not decide whether or not to go for it on fourth down. That was all Dan Campbell. Ben Johnson didn't clean out the locker room, okay, and get rid of certain players that were a detriment, okay? Ben Johnson hasn't had to say, I'm going to go for it on fourth down from my own 30, okay? Now, to Ben Johnson's credit, when he was given the assignment on fourth down from the 30-yard line of Detroit, and, 4th and 3, he'd get it done. I'll give him that. But he's going to look out there, and he's going to go, God, Jared Goff's not there, who's the second best quarterback in football. Wait, where are my Pro Bowlers? Where's David Montgomery? Where's, it's a whole new ball game for him. He's never coached, been a head coach. Caleb Williams is on his third offensive coordinator in 2 years. Okay, you know what that can do to a football player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. They've gotten rid of guys like Roquan Smith and David Montgomery to a rival that would come back and haunt the Bears. So they have a lot of questions. They're picked for fourth place for a reason. As a Bear fan, would I like to see a surprise? Darn right. Will it happen? I'm not so sure.
I have to go into a different area with you now.
I love when you do that. You know that.
Okay, I'm going here now because I asked Howard Eskin this, and I'm going to ask you this. Okay. By the way, guys, the books that I showed you about all the sports talkers across the country? Mike's name is in those books along with mine and Howard Eskin's.
Yep.
We had a chance to sit down. Mike, let me ask you about the landscape of the sports talk radio today.
Okay.
Let me go there. What do you make of sports talk radio? And Howard Eskin thinks that there's just no talent in the game any longer. And, I know that we went to consolidation years ago and we really didn't develop a lot of local guys any longer. But give me, in your opinion, the state of sports talk radio and how you see it today.
I think it's more about what the bosses want them to think or what the bosses threaten with. I think that there's no more shooting off the hip. When I did it, I mean, I'm no different now than I was when I was on the street corner and at 12 years old, arguing with my buddies about who was better, Bill Melton or Ron Santo, who was better, Gale Sayers or Walter Payton later on. I think that right now it's been a bad time because a lot of the radios turned woke. I know my friend Dan Jiggets and I would have, and I didn't think that sports radio nearly covered enough. They've played it safe. We would have been all over the men beating up the women thing. I would have been all over it from day one.
I'm with you.
I would have been all over it. And, I didn't hear it. You know what I hear? I hear football talk. you know, in the middle of July, when there can be a walk-off home run that happened last night and it's not even brought up. They don't watch the game as much as they used to. I just think that it's scripted more. I never did a script. I was on the air with Andy Furman at Fox. Andy's a great guy, a great talk show host out of Cincinnati. We worked together for 3 years. Bruce Gilbert says to me, "We need a guy, Mike. I want you to be my superstar." I said, "Well, that's a nice compliment, but what do you want me to do?" He says, "I want you to work with a guy named Andy Furman and Jonas Knox, who's now at Fox." And he was our producer at the time and a contributor too. Terrific guy. And the first night, I'm supposed to start the next day. Andy, one of the great talk show hosts, sends me a script. Okay. I never had met him. I just emailed him back. "Don't ever send me a script again. I know exactly anything you want to bring up. You can bring up about the cheerleading contest in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I'll know about it. Don't send me a script." And I think TV has ruined a lot of the spontaneity because they have lousy, for the most part, hosts that are overrated, overpaid, and overscripted. And I think that's what sports radio is now. I think sports radio's got to get more daring. Back then, we took chances. You came out of the box. You didn't worry. You know, I'd say something, and then 3 weeks later, okay, when nobody protested, the media writer would write what I said, and then I'd be called into the office. I said it 3 weeks ago. "How many calls did you get?" "Well, I got a couple at the time." I go, "Don't bother me until you get at least 25. My God, what are you going to? My wife complained about me this morning. I mean, what are you going to do? So it's changed. The bosses used to be more daring. The talk show hosts were unafraid. We did not have social media to put up with because I did some things that, some bits that I think if there would have been social media back then, to be honest with you, Dan, I probably would have lasted 2 years instead of lasted 34.
Oh, I get you. And here, Mike, I got the Eagles. They call my bosses on this channel to get me fired every day.
Oh yeah.
Well, and some of the things that have been written about me in my career,
and me too.
And so to me, I look at it like you said. I mean, guys are more mouthpieces today. They're not guys that really are going to, like you said, like what I do. You know what I do? These aren't scripts. These are cliff notes. Right. I got little things that remind me. I don't sit. I mean, if I'm doing a script, and I was the second person hired in the history of Fox Sports Radio, Tony Bruno and I were just like this. We went in. We used to just talk, and you know what?
Absolutely.
Watch this. We walked into Jim Rome's studio one time, and he had this book. Hey, yep. We opened it up, and in there it said, "Rack 'em." In there it said, like, when to say it. And we were all like this. I would never do a show like that. I can't do a show like that.
No, I do the same shows that I did. In fact, on ESPN 1000, I do a wagering show with Carmen DeFalco. We just did it today. It's on tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You can get it on podcast at ESPN 1000 app. And we're winning, and we don't have a script. I never know what he's going to bring up. I'm always ready to go. I've been blessed with that. I mean, I'm a high school dropout because I loved sports so much that I could care less about history, arithmetic and all that crap. I ended up, being in the hot dog stand business. And then one day they wanted to open a jazz station. I went to the bosses. I said, "Man, you better open a sports station. Jazz is going to be out for you in about a year." And they did. And it's been there. And now the Cubs are on that station. So I knew how important.
WGN?
No, the Score.
The Score.
1994.
Okay.
1992, Danny Lee, who owned WXRT, walks into my hot dog stand to get something to eat. I look at the paper. It says WXRT gonna have a jazz station. They bought the letters WJZ. I call the guy over. I go, "Are you Danny Lee?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Buddy, you should have a sports station. There's only 12 of them right now." It was like 91 when I talked to him. I said, "The Kansas City's got one, San Diego, Los Angeles, Denver. You should do a Chicago station." He goes, "I'm a music guy." I go, "Okay." Anyway, this guy was so savvy. He goes home that Friday night, buys on Saturday morning the Sunday editions, which used to come out on Saturday, of the Tribune and the Sun-Times, counted the ads in the sports section back in 92 when the paper was this thick, 40. Counted the ads in the entertainment section, 2. That Monday they go in. What kind of music DJs we going to have? He goes, we're doing sports. We don't know anything about sports. You're going to listen to that goofy hot dog guy? He goes, yeah. And then I ended up getting hired, and then the rest is history.
I'll tell you what, I grew up with WLS.
Oh, it's great.
I grew up, and there used to be a host on there all the time.
Who?
One of the most famous guys of all time. I grew up, when I was younger, I used to listen to WLS.
WLS had guys like Art Roberts, Larry Lujak.
Yeah, Larry Lujak. That's him, Larry Lujak, WLS.
Yeah, Larry Lujak and Tommy Edwards, Crazy Animal Stories. Chicago used to be the richest radio town. Now I think, look, there's a lot of podcasts that got talent now, okay? You didn't have to contend with that back then. But I think the shame of AM radio right now, talk radio, conservative, liberal, sports or otherwise, or entertainment, is that the hosts on radio should dominate. They should be a go-to, okay? But podcasts, especially with people that want to invest money, for instance, like my friends at Barstool, they are beating up the traditional radio stations, and it's happening in TV too.
Absolutely. Couple last ones here for you, Mike.
Okay.
Mike, for you, what was the most significant thing that you ever had in covering a sporting event in Chicago? Was it the Cubs winning? Was it the Bulls winning? Was it another innocuous moment? You tell me. You probably go all the way back to disco night.
Yeah.
There with the White Sox there too. So you tell me.
Well, I was working for the Chicago Park District when disco night happened. I wasn't even in radio. I didn't get into radio till I was 39, but I got to be honest with you. I've been blessed. My heroes. I shook hands as a kid with Doug Buffone.
Oh,
coming out of the Bears locker room. We were kids that waited for him. I was like, I was 13. In 1997, me and Doug worked together.
Oh, so, wow. That's right. He was on the air in Chicago.
Me and him worked as a group, as a duo called the Wise Guys. I went to Walter Payton's first game. I saw him on 8 carries, gained 0 yards. And my buddy goes, "This is your #1 draft pick?" I said, "I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a stud." Walter and I became best friends. We did a show every Tuesday night. I got to work with Gale Sayers. Great story. I say to get, because I used to bug the crap out of these two guys because they were like rivals. Okay. Gale felt forgotten because Walter came on to the scene.
Yes, right.
Anybody that just watch Gale Sayers on YouTube. Okay. And then be quiet and just enjoy. But I asked Gale Sayers one time because, ESPN likes to praise a lot of people, but Barry Sanders gets a lot of praise. No doubt about it. But I asked Gale, I said, "Gale, who is better?" Because I used to do this to him all the time. "You or Barry Sanders?" He goes, "You tell Barry Sanders to come out to Wrigley Field, play on hard mud in 10 degrees, okay, with snow blowing in his face, and do what I do. And then I'll go to the Silver Dome and play 7 games indoors. And I could promise you this, had I been healthy and played indoors in my career, I would have been the first 2,000-yard runner because I would have been playing on a dry track." And this is the type of stuff I used to get. Dick Butkus was a dear friend of mine, and we bow at his grave.
Oh,
Dick Butkus is the greatest defensive football player who ever lived. He told me, he did a 2-part show with me, and I didn't know this. He told me, I go, "Who was better, you or Lawrence Taylor?" He goes, "Well, Parcells told me they tried Lawrence Taylor at middle linebacker and he couldn't do it."
Huh.
So they made him.
Most revered Chicago athlete. Is it Butkus?
Jordan.
It's Jordan.
Jordan and Peyton. I think Jordan, Walter, Michael Jordan is the icon. The only other guy, I mean, I interviewed Michael Jordan when Michael, and I'd run into Michael at restaurants. I went to his basketball camp for guys that were 35 and over. It was great out there at Bally's. Michael and I are friends, got a great couple pictures with him. I'll never forget, I bought the North Carolina jersey. I said, "Mike, I want you to put down, 'To my pal Mike,' from Michael Jordan." He goes, "Mike," he goes, "you don't want me to do that." I go, "Why?" "Because someday, if you put your name on it, you can't sell it." I go, "I'm never going to sell your jersey." And he just put "Best wishes, Michael Jordan," right? And every day I come down to the basement and I say, I wonder if I should sell that jersey. No, but I love it. So I think Michael Jordan is the icon of icons. Chicago was a death valley for titles, and here comes a guy, and only in Chicago would this happen. They could have won 8 in a row. He took 2 years off. I'll take 2 years off. I'm exhausted. Okay, and I had plus other circumstances with his dad, which was a sad time. And then he comes back and does 3 more. To me, he was magnetic. But in line with what just happened, the only other guy, we used to have people, big stars, come to the station all the time. The second biggest guy that ever came to our station, where the people were just losing their minds, was Hulk Hogan. When Hulk Hogan walked in, it was like, wow. He took, I got a picture on North to North, my Twitter. If you guys go to the front page, when people are listening here, and it's me, I'm a young guy. I think it's 1996, 97. And I'm with probably one of the great showmen who ever lived in the history of sports, who took wrestling. My wife's not a big pro wrestling fan, but when Hulk Hogan was on, I go, look, let's watch Hulk Hogan, whatever he was in. And he just crossed over. So I met so many great people. I think that's the main thing. And the thrill of just turning on the radio. You know that. Yeah. When I was a kid, just give me one day on the radio.
Yeah.
Now I go to buy a new car. I go, where's the radio now? The guy goes, there are none. I go, I'm not buying your car. What are you talking about? That's crap. A part of Americana is a radio knob. He goes, you gotta go like this. I go, I'll run into a pole. I'll run into a pole.
Mike, I want to do, because my show's based in Philly.
Cool.
So I gotta do one thing here for you.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts,
yes,
or Justin Herbert in a game.
Jalen Hurts.
Okay, here's another one. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson.
Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson can't beat Mahomes. Lamar Jackson's a regular season hero because when he gets into, he's a terrific player, but he's a stat-stuffing regular season guy. He's got to prove he can get over the hump. At least Josh Allen, we know, can beat Mahomes, but he can't beat him in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, I keep hearing, boy, the Eagles are going to have trouble getting to their second Super Bowl in a row. I go, wait, Kansas City's been to 3 in a row. And the NFC is a lot weaker to me than the AFC.
It is. We were going over that today.
Who's going to get in the Eagles' way? Detroit, maybe, and they lost their offensive coordinator and they lost some people. I mean, because I don't see, there's always 4 or 5 surprises that were not in the playoffs the year before.
Do you think anybody challenges Philly this year?
Wow. I mean, they replaced guys that left their line. They replaced Kelsey, the center. I thought they'd be hurting just like you. I see where Detroit's 10.5 without Ben Johnson, because I really feel that the Detroit Lions know his offense and that Jared Goff will have a big say in what they do. I still think they got their players, but I just think they lost too much. You lose your defensive coordinator and your offensive coordinator, you're going to get to the playoffs. You might win 10 games.
And 2 O-linemen
in
the middle.
Yeah, and the Chiefs got weak. We got Thuney from Kansas City. The Bears offensive line, it's early, has not looked good so far, but it's going to take more than 3 days for an offensive line to gel. You know that. I got a great story for you, Dan, if you got time real quick.
Tell me, go ahead.
I love what you do. I love that you played for the Hurricanes.
Thank you.
You bounced around like I did in school, no doubt about it. You played at Maryland. You did a lot of things, but you played on some great defensive lines. And one night I was at the Super Bowl in Miami, and I was drinking a bottle of Dom. Life was good with my buddy Dan Jiggets. And here comes walking down the street Kevin Green and Jerome Brown. And Jerome Brown came in, knew Dan. Hey, this is my partner, Mike North. Hey, we all hit it off. We paid for, I bought another bottle of champagne. Jerome didn't reach for his wallet. Either did Green, either did Jiggets. And to tell you what kind of world it was, like about 2 months later, he was killed, after after I had saw him at the Super Bowl, and I just wanted to bring that up to you.
Yeah,
I
he
was
was a running mate of mine at Miami.
absolutely, I knew that. Look, I'm not a big fan of the Hurricanes. I'm a Notre Dame guy, as you
Oh,
know.
wait, I'm going to bring that up because August 31st. Hey, you know how I knew that, Mike? I'm going to tell you this. So Mike sent me his email, and I saw this Irish thing on it.
Well, I'm half Irish, half Italian, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, get this. I was like, this has got to be something to do with Notre Dame here. So I'm like, I'm going like, because, folks, people in Chicago, they don't like Northwestern. They like Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, Northwestern's a suburban team. They try to call them Chicago team. No, we don't claim them. They play on the beach like they're playing volleyball. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I have nothing to do with that. I call them Hamish University. They give buildings away and all that other crap.
Hey, Mike, I got to give you this. So like when we played them, this is how the whole thing started. We
it's great.
beat the brakes off them 58-7 one year. I mean, we're running reverse.
Kick their ass, I know.
My God, and it was just an ass beat.
It was a clinic.
But what people forgot was that Notre Dame had been beating Miami 77-0.
Right.
In the 70s, they had been killing. So
I want to see it come back. I want to see. I'll tell you why I did not like Miami. It had nothing to do. And some of the kids at Miami, the Testaverdes, the McGahees, I loved them. There's a lot of people in the Midwest that respected them. It was the Penn State game when Miami got off the plane with the camouflage.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, when they got off the plane with that camouflage, that turned everybody against your asses. I don't know who concocted that whole scenario, but that to me, and maybe it was you, that to me was worse than the Catholic First Convicts. Like you guys are going to come off and you're going to beat like Joe Paterno, who I liked, by the way, regardless of what.
I love. No. Yeah. Mike, let me tell you the story here. So get this. So that game, we gave up 7 first downs. We had 7 turnovers. They beat us 14-10. But here's
right. And you guys played a bad game and you almost won.
Here's the kicker. I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I got to fly home. Who's there next to me? It's Joe Paterno.
Oh my God.
He put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "You and Jerome Brown are the best I've seen since Millen and Clark." And I go like, and I go like, and I've posted numerous things. And he looked at me, he goes, "I'm going to see you on Sunday. I wish to God you had come to Penn State. I'm an Italian guy. You're from the Northeast."
Right,
I mean,
right.
And I'm going like this, and I'm like, so we flew back for 3 hours. He was talking. He couldn't have been nicer. And I learned so much. What I didn't like about that whole setup was there was Jerry Sandusky on the sidelines.
I get you.
And I mean,
well, no, he's responsible. The head coach at the end, he paid the price, but I still love the way that he coached his football team.
Me too.
And how they beat a team that was far superior. I mean, I love the bravado of Miami. The one guy I was completely happy for that had a great career and I was worried for him was McGahee.
Yeah.
Who got hurt in the Orange Bowl and in one of the worst looking injuries I've ever seen on live television. That rivals Theismann, another terrific guy. If you've ever met Joe Theismann, folks, who had to actually go to Canada. There's quarterbacks that couldn't play with him. They're making $20 million a year now. He had to go to Canada and run back kicks and stuff before he could come back and quarterback.
He comes on here all the time. We get him on all the time, and he's told that story. I mean,
it makes me ill. It made me ill back in the day. But it happened to other people like Charlie Ward. I think now if Charlie Ward came out, he could be a competent quarterback. They didn't give him a chance. I remember in '67, a guy named Rex Kern that played for Ohio State. He ended up playing safety. So they used to do that all the time, move guys and stuff like that. But things have changed where they're just handing people money now that can't play the game half as good as the guys before them. That's just the bottom line.
How about this, man? Me and you are going to have to do something on Notre Dame Miami week, boy.
Anytime.
Hey, I got to tell you, man, because that's coming up August 31st. And I got to tell you about Marcus Freeman. I think he's a hell of a coach. I mean, I like him, and I'll tell you why. I think he's a great recruiter. I think, do you believe he's an upgrade from the guy before?
Oh, my God. First of all, I can't stand Brian Kelly. Never liked him.
Me too, man. How about
I don't want
Mike, here's Brian Kelly now. How you doing, everybody? I'm like, the guy's from Maine.
I'll never forget. I had a contentious interview with Charlie Weiss, and I would take Charlie Weiss back before I would take that rat, Brian Kelly. And the reason I call him that, First of all, I don't know how much. I used to be a drinking man. And I stopped about 18 years ago, but I drank enough before that I could still have alcohol in my system to this day. But I didn't want my coach, abandoning Notre Dame to go to LSU, and you actually thought that you were going to replace Ogeron. You have that big an ego, and you were going to replace Ogeron, and that you're going to go to that league, and then you're going to give us this. Hi, everybody. I'm doing Brian Kelly here. After I'm done coaching this team, I'm going to become sheriff of the county. And then after that, I'm going to become like the guy at Flamingo Road. I mean, it's just the hypocrisy of the whole thing. And then Marcus Freeman comes in. I go, okay. Marcus Freeman. I don't know anything about him. I'm not going to open my mouth. I'm going to wait and see.
Yeah.
And my God, some guy tells me the other day, Notre Dame's not the same program they once were. I go, they were in the title game last year.
I know.
They were in the title game. What are you talking about? That's the thing. I guess they got to win one. But Notre Dame, I remember people telling me they'll never be a top 10 team again because of the grades and all this.
Yeah.
The kids they're getting now are second to none. The Florida people like yourselves, we're hijacking you guys.
Yeah.
And taking them to Florida, Miami, Florida State. And I went to Florida once on vacation. And I went there in July. And I opened up the papers. And I said to myself, I come from a pro town. I don't want to live here. Because the first 4 or 5 pages in the sports section back in the 60s and 70s, George Myra, Steve Spurrier, Miami, Florida, it's all college. And that's what's different about playing in other places. I can only imagine how it is in Alabama, but they only had one team. You guys, and now you're adding Florida International, Florida Atlantic, that
USF, UCF, all those places.
It's like there's too many, and it's Rob from Peter to give to Paul.
It is.
You're taking some guys from Miami that would have gone there 30 years ago. You're getting them going to Florida Atlantic, or something like that. But it's the college coverage in my Florida back in the day, and I'm sure it's still the same, was second to none.
How are you not doing a Monday through Friday show any longer? I mean, Mike, you got the energy of a 20-year-old.
I always have.
How come you not? Is it because of the politics? Is it because of?
I don't ask. They pay me good for what I do, Dan. I don't ask. I'm the only guy left from the original guys, and there's a lot of them that's on terrestrial radio. There's hardly any of our ilk. I'm the only one still on ESPN, and that's the one place people thought I'd never be at, because I was their competitor, and they had one station before, and we put them out of business. We had one-on-one sports try to get us out of Norfolk. We put them
Randy Merkin.
Yeah, and Peter Brown and those guys. Randy, it ended up being my producer at ESPN 1000 when I first started ESPN. So I have not always been. I'm the outsider. I just got the Barrett's Media Award for a lifetime achievement for contribution to Chicago radio. I'm an outsider. For me to get that, I mean, I've won 4 Air Awards. I've won 2 Emmys, but they're always voted from the outside.
Yeah.
Okay. They send the tapes everywhere else. If you voted from the inside, you know this as well as any.
Yeah.
The media members, especially from the swamp, and every city has a swamp sports department that will kiss the ass of any team at any time. Just give me a free food pass. So I'm the outsider. I've never asked why. I'm happy I got the job. I'm 72 years old. I could go tomorrow. I see guys on DraftKings. I see guys doing this. I see guys doing that. They last for a short time. And if you know this, you've bounced around just like I have. If you got a mind of your own, okay, you gotta be able to understand that someday the turnstile is going to stop.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. Now, I had the opportunity. Now, I'm ESPN. I've worked for Fox, and I've worked at the Score, 3 powerhouse places. But, I'm one of those guys that, there's flagship teams at these stations now. And I don't have a filter. If a team stinks, I'm going to say you stink. And that's just basically what it is. I can't say anything else. I'm not going to be a liar because a station or two is on a flagship. I'm not going to do that. And that seems to be and people know that, Dan.
You know
people
what?
Know that.
Mike, I've realized people call me a controversial host. And I found out what controversial means, and I know you have too. And to me, it's telling people the truth.
Absolutely.
Because more people would rather be lied to in their lives than having spoken the truth to. And to me, in my opinion, that's the number one reason why guys like you and me and guys like Angelo and Howard Eskin and those guys is because we last, because all you have to do is tell the truth. If you do that, that to me is what's polarizing.
It takes more guts to take a stand against the whole city of people. I'll give you a perfect example. Mitch Trubisky. Kid comes to the Bears. I go, this kid's pretty good. Yeah, they got a good defense. We got Roquan Smith. We got a pretty good offense. Mitch Trubisky gets us into the playoffs along, with the Bears football team in 2018. Parkey misses those two by hitting the uprights. He doesn't miss that. Mitch Trubisky's still on the Bears. We go to the Super Bowl. He's still on the Bears. 2019, we don't make it. 2020, Nagy's the guy again, the coach. Has a meeting with Trubisky scheduled 2019. Nagy doesn't show up. They didn't like Mitch for some reason all of a sudden. They're bringing in different people. You know how that is. You bring in a new GM. He's not our guy. 2020, Mitch Trubisky leads the Bears to the playoffs again, twice in 4 years. We finally got a quarterback. He's 29-21. Throws for 3,100 yards, whatever. Doesn't turn the football over. They pillaged the kid. He ends up going to Pittsburgh, pulled at halftime by the coach, Tomlin. Pulls him and puts in the savior, Kenny Pickens. I go, how do you pull a guy out of the game at 10-6 when the team is 2-2? You go with Kenny Pickens. Kenny Pickens is trying to win the third job at Philadelphia now. Mitch had enough. He's been in Buffalo, and I wish him nothing but the best because we went to then Justin Fields, and that didn't work, and now we're going to Caleb Williams, and it looks like that's 50-50. So you know what you never get? You never get the people to say, hey, Mike, sorry, I was wrong. You just took 2 years of abuse from me, and guess what? You were right. I never get that. I just tell the truth every single day. Mitch Trubisky should still be the Bears quarterback, and we shouldn't be going through the nonsense we're going to. Before Ryan, and then they give the GM, think about this, 21 games under 500, who brought in Eberflus, who's brought in 3 offensive coordinators, who got rid of Mitch and brought in 2 quarterbacks, falling on his face. The Bears won 6 games before he got there. The year before he got there, they've won 5 years since. And then they go, we're going to give you 4 years. And nobody says a word because they're all afraid. They're all afraid.
Oh, my God, Mike, this has been great, dog. We got to do this again. Please.
Anytime you want.
Hey, man.
I watch golf now, Danny. I watch golf because, you can bet on golf now, which is great because for a guy like Jack Rickhouse used to say, how you doing? Are you shut-ins? He meant people over 60. I became a shut-in. I do my radio show. If somebody would have told me someday you're going to get a message on a phone or you're going to be able to do a show where you can see a guy thousands of miles away, I would have said, were you trying to make a fool out of me? I mean, can you imagine when you were 10 years old? They're going to go, someday you're going to get a message from me on the phone. You'd send the guy to the Wacko Museum. Come on.
Yeah, I am with you, Mike. You have yourself a fantastic weekend, my friend, and I really enjoyed this.
I did too, Daddy.
I really did. We got to do this again. It's been
anytime you want. I'm available.
Hey, how about this, man? It's been too long for us never to have met before, man.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. And by the way, everybody is blowing it up here right now, telling you they really enjoyed you, man, being on the program here. So please get this, man. Make sure you come back, okay?
I think I knew that guy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, thanks a lot, brother.
You tell me when you need me. I'll be there.
And I will. Thank you, sir.
All right, pal.
You got it. Mike North from Chicago. One of the legendary sports talk guys. I told you guys would like him. Absolutely fantastic stuff there, man. All right, guys, make sure you do this to me, man. Let's get some of these super chats that you guys were sending during that time. What do you guys make of Mike North? By the way, he is an absolutely enormous Jalen Hurts fan. So I'm sure, okay, I'm sure you guys are going to want him back. By the way, he's a big shit talker too, as you can tell. I mean, I'm telling you, he's one of the greatest sports talk guys. I told you, man, we put the people on. I mean, what I loved about it, I don't believe I said 5 words. Xander, do we have any supers with him, man? He is a huge Jalen Hurts fan. He'd take him over. He said he would take Jalen over Lamar Jackson. He goes, I'll take him over Herbert. I'll take him over Lamar Jackson. Truth teller Hurts better than Lamar. Whoa. Damn. Mike, I think he meant Mike North. Please come on before the Eagles and Bears. Oh, we'll get him on before that. 3 teams not sleeping on: Chargers, Texans, and Falcons. Thank you, Kimbo. Appreciate that. By the way, I call my wife Kimbo. So we're keeping score here. He said, hey, he's not a fan of the Bears and the way they're running. And Ryan Poles, the general manager. Great stuff. Jesus, I got to take a timeout, don't I, Xander? I haven't taken one yet, have I? I don't believe I've taken one. So let's do that now. All right, guys. Our great friends at Morgan & Morgan. What a great football week. We got so much left here. Look at this. So much left here, okay? Our friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in all of America, for a reason. They win. With over $30 billion recovered across this country, defending families and defending folks against fraudulent insurance claims like the one I told you about in Pennsylvania here, where you had a family offered $650K on a claim. They ended up getting that family $30 million. That's incredible. Got them $30 million on a $650,000 claim. Thousands of attorneys from coast to coast make sure that they give you nothing but the best attention. And know this, they don't get paid unless you win. Please do me a favor. If you're ever injured, go to our friends at Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in